Okay.
Okay.
Hello, welcome to Black Talk Show. I have today with us Coach Nancy J. Lewis. Welcome, Coach Nancy.
Thank you. Welcome. Hello, Tina, Coach Tina and Coach Janine.
Yeah, and I also have my co-host, Coach Janine. Welcome to the show.
Hello, family. How are you?
So, Coach Nancy, could you tell us a little bit about yourself before we go into questions?
Okay. I am the president of Progressive Techniques Incorporated, based out of Metro Atlanta, actually Fayetteville, but people don't really know Fayetteville, so I say Metro Atlanta. They know Atlanta. And our tagline is developing a better you. And what we do is we provide premier management development and professional development training company, along doing workshops around, we call them soft skills, but they're really essential skills: emotional intelligence, diversity, inclusion, leadership, unconscious bias, change management, those kinds of courses. And I also do executive and business coaching with CEOs and their leadership team. And I love what I do. So I say I'm a marketplace evangelist. So.
Okay. Thank you. So Coach Janine, you want to go first and ask the questions?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you, Coach Nancy, for blessing us with your presence. Coach Nancy, she's one of the servant leader that we enjoy listening to on so many platforms. So we're very, very blessed to have you tonight, Coach Nancy. My first question to you, Coach Nancy, would you really, to our viewers and many people who've been listening to us, for this Black to Black talk show, could you really, tell us what are some of the nuggets that you usually, give to your clients, especially when they're starting this journey as an executive coach or as entrepreneurs? What are some of the things they need to consider before they jump in as a Christian believer entrepreneurs?
Well, first, you have to make sure that God has called you to do it. You want to make sure that that this is what you're supposed to do, and you're listening to the voice of God, and God is telling you it's something that you do, because if He gives you the vision, He gives you the provision. And so if you're listening to God, sometimes people, it may be confirmed with someone you're talking to, etc. But you also, in the process, you have to make sure you're planning for, at some point, stepping away, if that's really your desire. Because I tell people, I didn't just wake up when they quit my job. That is not smart unless you got some millions in the bank. Yes. So you have to really be thinking about, okay, when you get out here as an entrepreneur, it is a faith walk. So people have to realize that you may get a client who says they're going to hire you to do something, and it's going to be like a 6-month project, and it's going to start in January, going through June. Then they may come and say, you know what? We decided we're going to start in June, and it's going to go through December. So meanwhile, most of us have already calculated the money from January to June, and you're like, what? So you have to be thinking about how to basically make sure that you are knowing how to manage your money. You don't mingle your business and your personal. So you need to make sure you have a personal account and a business account, and you don't mingle the two. They're two separate. If you're really in business, you have to charge people, because sometimes people don't value what's free. They don't value what's free. People will say they're going to come to an event that's free because there's no money, there's no skin in the game. And if they decide they don't want to come, they don't come, because there's no investment. And so I tell you, you have to make sure when you realize your value, quit giving your services away. But you need to be hearing from God. Is this what you want me to do? Because if He sends you, He will send the people that will help you along the way. And He'll also confirm it with someone saying, you know what, you need to do X, Y, Z. God has graced you with this. You will know that it's time for you to step away. But you have to do your part in terms of faith without works is dead. You got to make sure you're doing your preparation as well. But then when you get out here, one of the first lessons I learned as an entrepreneur was that when I stepped out over 20 years ago, I was talking to some, I had a 6-month contract. When I stepped away, I was like, go God. I was so excited because I had money that was coming, making good money. It was going to be going for 6 months. About halfway through, it dawned on me, okay, when this contract ends, what am I going to do? Because I really hadn't thought about it. I'm like, if I don't get some more clients, I don't want to go back to corporate. So it was like a wake-up call. So I began to network and market and begin to work on my relationships, cultivating, nurturing those relationships. But also at that time, because I got a little apprehension, got a little fear, because I was like, what happens if I don't get any more clients? Mm-hmm. So I called some of my corporate friends and I said, hey, this walk of the entrepreneur, I'm new to it. This is really, I'm kind of like in this place now that I've had the 6-month contract, but it's going to be ending in a few months. And I need to make sure I have some additional business. They said, go get you a real job. I said, excuse me? They said, go get you a real job. One that gives you a check, like every other week, every month. I'm like, that was not what I wanted to hear. I wanted someone to encourage me. So I tell people, I'm saying that to say, when you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're a new entrepreneur, first of all, don't share your vision with everybody, because you got vision busters. And it's like they tell you when you're pregnant, don't say anything to like for the first trimester. Hold on to what God has given you until you're ready to birth it, because people will sometimes squash your dream, bust your bubble before it's ever coming out. And then when you are out there and you have a difficult season, because if you're out here any period of time, you will have some difficult seasons. You just are. But you want to make sure you talk to people that are entrepreneurs that will encourage you to keep going, and that this you'll get through this season will pass. So that's one of the first lessons I learned. But you have to have the faith, and you have to do your part in terms of faith without works is dead. You got to market. You got to ask for referrals. When you do a good job, you have to tell people, if you like what I do, tell somebody else. So you have to ask for what you want. Closed mouth does not get fed.
Yeah.
That's right. That is Coach. So, Coach Nancy, from your first 1 to 5 years, can you talk to us more about like your checklist? Because I'm sure every entrepreneur, especially Christian entrepreneur, like, we have some, some scriptures, some motivation, but sometimes we miss that checklist that we always have to have. Like you talk about your circle, people who can hold you accountable. So would you talk to us about, having a checklist, or what is your checklist, or actually what is on your checklist, from your first 2 5 years, or even now you can be able to share with us?
I think just having people that are going to hold you, people that are eagles, number one, people who are individuals who have vision for what can be. And they realize with God, there's nothing you can't do. So they will encourage you, and they'll say, they'll challenge you to think bigger, or certainly if you have this big vision, sometimes they will be able to help you get that vision birthed. But you want people who are eagles, because eagles only hang with other eagles. They don't hang with bluebirds, turkeys. They only hang with other eagles. So sometimes you have great vision. You have great ideas what you want to do. And if you start talking to people and they say, that's too big, you can't do that. You need to run, because they're not in the same league as you are. And it's nothing personal. It's not that you don't love them, but it's the fact that where you're headed, you want to soar above everything else. They can't go with you. So you have to make sure that your circle, you need a board, your own personal board of advisors, mastermind group that you get together, and you can basically bounce ideas off each other, and they will champion you and say, hey, you got this. Or they will also say, girl, that sucks. That won't work. So you need someone who's not going to be your yes people, but they will tell you the truth and love that say, no, you don't want to go forth. You haven't done enough research, you haven't done enough, whatever it is. And from my experience, I would say you need to do X, Y, Z before you step out. So you need that personal board of advisors, whatever you want to call them, your cheerleaders, whatever you want to call them, your mastermind group, but individuals who are going to tell you the truth, who will champion you and cheer for you, but they will also give you critical feedback when you need it. You need that. Then secondly, you need to make sure that you realize that just as when you get money, when you're making money, and it's coming in, because early in my career, the first 5 years, because business is very different how you got business then. People plan stuff out like a year, 2 years. So you get assignments, people would contact you a year out, sometimes a year and a half out to say, hey, we want you to speak at this conference. Now maybe the next month. And if you can't do it, they will go down the list and they will just get somebody else. So it's basically making sure now that you have like a little speaker packet that you need to have ready with your picture, not your JPEG picture, a one pager, some stuff that you can send to people. If they need something quickly, you don't have to say, well, I get it to you in 3 days. No, when they ask for something from you, you should have it to them within 24 hours. Being responsive to messages from people email or call you, that is so critical, because I've gotten business because of just being responsive. When you meet people that you really want to connect with, and that there's some synergy there, doing immediate follow-up has gotten me business. So follow up and follow through when you meet people that are key players that can help you move your vision forward, but also pay it forward. Sometimes I go to events and it's not for me, but it's for somebody else, and I'm going to pay it forward to someone else.
Yes. And I want to testify for that, because Coach Nancy, she's a champion on paying forward. Guys, for the longest that I know this woman, she's always blessing me. And I'm not just saying blessing me by word, but by her action. She's always be here for me. She's always give me good advice. She's always, sending me resources. She's always connecting me with the right people. So again, I just want to go into my experience that I was very blessed to participate on her conference. That's why we really wanted to talk about the Tweet conference. I was so blessed to be one of the speakers, and Coach Tina was also there. So I really want to talk about the vision of Tweet Conference. Can you talk to us about how you guys started 15 years ago, and what people can be able to learn once they're starting their own first conference or second conference? What can you tell them, Coach Nancy?
Well, starting Tweet 15 years ago, because next year will be our 16th year. So we're planning now for the March event. I'm just working to finalize the date. but we got the name and everything. But 15 years ago, a colleague of mine, Brenda Hyde, and I decided we wanted to do like a breakfast series. It started out as a breakfast series in it was kind of like in a private club we were having it at. Like I think it was on the 19th floor, whatever. It was a very nice event, very nice, very polished, just we wanted people who were visionaries, people who were high end, people who really valued getting together with other people who thought like them, eagles. And so we started just doing a breakfast series. So the first year we just did a breakfast, like a breakfast series, and that was it. And after the first year, she decided, she says, Nancy, I want to look at some other things. And she says, so, either we could just let it kind of like fizzle, or you can take it on yourself. And I just knew I just felt in my spirit like, no, this needs to continue. And so I continued to do it. And we started adding a all-day conference to it. And I tell people, doing conferences, whether it's a breakfast series, an all-day series, it is doing the flyers, putting stuff on social media. That's the easy part. That's the easy part. Getting people to pay and getting butts and seats, or getting people to sign in, it's a whole nother thing. Getting sponsors, because the first few years I sent stuff to a lot of organizations, corporate people saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. And I got reject. No. So, but that didn't stop me, because I said, okay, I'm gonna keep going. Eventually, somebody gonna get me in the door and I'm gonna start getting sponsorship. And so I didn't stop, and I continued to cultivate the relationships, because the bottom line for sponsorships, from my perspective, is it has to be a relationship. People who know you are the ones who basically will support your event. And so I started getting like the Georgia Power. I had Delta Airlines. I had Coca-Cola. I had Taco Bell, Chick-fil-A donated something one time, but I had a lot of different sponsors, Office Depot. So I was very blessed, a Cotton State Insurance Company, Grady Health System, and the airport, Hartsfield Airport. So I had a lot of people that began to support me. And once you get people who are organizations that are name brand, like the Georgia Power System, people know them and they put their stamp on you as a small business owner and say what you have is good. It opens the door for other people. So I've gotten other people to support me because of those sponsors. And so I also tap into in-kind sponsors, sometimes people who donate in-kind services, etc. All Around Cosmetics, they're one of my strong supporters. They do a lot for me. So it's like, even I start approaching small business owners to help them, to create a category for them to be able to participate and be sponsors as well. But getting sponsorship is also very challenging, because when you're first starting out, people don't want to give you anything. And they're going to tell you no, you have to get out of your feelings and just keep coming back, because the consistency of keep doing it is what you have to do. But also, just because you post it out there on the social media and it's pretty and all that, that does not make people come.
Right.
Sometimes text people, call people, and put the link, say, here, hit the link, it's right there, go ahead and register. You do all that stuff. And just understand, if you're the host of the event, if it is your event, ultimately you're responsible for getting butts in the chair, period. Your speakers may or may help you out, but understand many times they come and they just speak and that's it.
Yeah. Yes.
So that may be more than people can handle, but hey, it is what it is.
Yes.
Those are very good nuggets. Thank you so much, Miss Nancy.
Okay, let me go. I'll ask you some questions. Could you tell us more about the mission and vision of progressive technology techniques, in company, and how it aligns with the theme of developing a better you?
Well, it's the mission vision is we're a premier management development company that really wants to help transform leaders and organizations. And one of our promises is we guarantee, we develop better leaders guaranteed. Our promise is we bring joy to the workplace, because if you follow what we teach and you do the things we tell you to do in terms of our training seminars, it will transform your leadership team. And having come out of HR, so I have the HR perspective as well as the training side. So I can help you understand what you don't want to do and how you can stay out of trouble, because I worked as an HR professional. So we come in and want to help transform your people, because being certified in emotional intelligence and a lot of other things, I tell people the secret sauce now for individuals is leaders to go from good to great is to master emotional intelligence, EQ. You've got to care about the people in this era now, in this post-COVID era, whatever it is we're calling, whatever this new normal, you got to know how to connect with your people. Not that you got to have lunch with them or sing kumbaya, but you have to know how to connect with them, and it has to be sincere. So what we do is we're helping to help companies with their leaders and their employees basically transform how they think, work in this hybrid workplace, so they can basically have greater retention of their employees. Because it costs them money every time that door someone leaves, it costs them a lot of money. So our vision is to basically be a premier management development company where people, when they think about training and development and the essential skills training, they think about us.
Okay. What do you see as the most pressing challenges and opportunities for business in today's ever-changing landscape, and how can they benefit from executive and business coaching services?
I think the biggest change now is just that in this world of where we're hybrid, we're remote, we're coming back in. There's a lot of challenges around that in terms of when I talk to leaders, some of them want their people back in. And I said, there are jobs that require you to be in. That's true. But I tell them, if you've had a job, you have staff that's been working in a job for the last 3.5 years, and they do it successfully, and they don't have to show up in person. What I'm going to suggest is you have to offer a hybrid model. Otherwise, you're probably going to lose a lot of people. Because now what's happening, even in the interviews, a lot of millennials and Zoomers will be asking the question, is this hybrid? If the answer is no, you got to show up 5 days a week. Some of them say, okay, I'll pass. Or they may even say they accept the job and then don't show up. Because in talking to a lot of HR colleagues, sometimes people will actually say, okay, they've been approved, background checks done, everything's ready. They're supposed to start work on Monday morning. Monday morning comes, they don't show up, they don't call, they don't do anything. They just miss an action. Or they may leave at lunch and don't come back. This stuff is real. And so I think in terms of coaching, you have to basically, everyone, even in house, people have to have mentors, and there has to be some kind of coaching that managers must know how to do to basically sometimes encourage and engage their employees. That's really critical. They must learn that their employees are emotional beings, period. And they have to connect with them at an emotional level, and they cannot have one size fits all. They have to meet each employee that works with them where they are. If you have one size fits all cookie cutter, it is a kiss of death for any leader.
Okay. Thank
So we
you.
help you realize, we help you understand you can't have cookie cutter. Get to know your people at the appropriate level so you can give them what they need to be successful.
Okay, thank you. Now, could you tell us, our listeners, what advice would you offer to listeners who are looking for enhance their professional growth and leadership skills in today's competitive business environment?
Be willing to invest in yourself. Be willing to spend the dollars to invest in yourself. You will spend dollars to go to the concerts. You'll spend dollars to go get your hair done. You'll spend dollars to go get your nails done. You'll spend dollars to go get your new outfit. But when it comes to professional development, you say that's too high. And so you have to be willing to invest in you, because it's an investment that will pay off long term. Because I tell people, even if you're working in a corporate job or government job and they offer training, I tell people, take every training opportunity you can, because you're building your portfolio, you're building your toolkit. Because if you get certifications, when I worked in corporate, I got all kinds of certifications because I knew when I left, those certifications come with me. And people pay for them. So learn, put things in your toolbox. You may not need the tool today. You may need it a month from today or 2 months or next year, but it's in your toolkit. So take advantage of what your organizations offer, because a lot of organizations offer a lot of programs. People just don't want to take them because it's like, well, I don't need that. You can always build your resume. Also interview for jobs, even if you're not really wanting a job, to see if you're marketable, to see if anybody takes any bites, and get some interviewing skills training to help you know how to interview. Because sometimes how you respond to a question in an interview is a deal breaker. Having worked in HR, there are deal breaker questions. And so it's basically showing up in your authentic self, looking professional. That means you got to have a suit on, but you need to be professional in however you show up. So I think people have to be willing to invest dollars in their own professional development. If your company doesn't do it, you must be willing to do it. As an entrepreneur, when I got certified in unconscious bias, it was very expensive, but I paid for it, because when you're an entrepreneur, you write the check.
Yes.
When I got certified in emotional intelligence, I wrote the check. This year, I took an adaptive leadership class. I wrote the check. So I tell my coaching clients, they have to invest in themselves, but their companies sometimes pay for them. I said, but I continually take classes to invest in me, because I'm practicing what I'm teaching you to do.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So could you tell us some success stories you had in Progressive Techniques and Company, and how significantly it impacted the people that you were connected to?
Well, just recently, I was coaching a gentleman who was basically, he said, and the first one, I just tell God gets the glory, because he's using me as the vessel of honor for what I do. I'm just the vessel he uses. But this man, I started coaching him, and he said he really didn't want to be coached. I mean, he's a high level executive. He didn't think he needed it. He said, I'm on my way out in a few years. I'm gonna be out of here. I'm going to be playing golf. I don't need this. So we started talking, and we started having sessions. And about the third or fourth session, he said, you know what? He said, you have changed my disposition. He said, I'm going to go for the next level in my organization, which is the top level. He said, because of you. I'm like, what? He said, you really helped me to see some things I hadn't looked at from a different perspective because you challenged me. You threw a lot of questions, asked me a lot of stuff, and basically reminded me that I have a lot to give and a lot to still offer. And he said, he said, you are good. I said, no, God is good. Again, the glory goes to God. I'm just the vessel he's using. He said, but you've changed my whole trajectory. He said, and he said, I'm telling my friends about you. He said, because he said, I came here, he said, and I was like, hey, I was on my way out. He said, I was kind of like, I was just on coast on out everything. He said, but you changed me. He said, and I really now want to make a difference and I want to pay it forward. He said, so I'm going for the next level, which is the highest level in his organization. And so that was just like, wow. I said, God, you're amazing. Thank you for just the gift that you're giving me to be able to encourage people. And one lady said, you're a motivator, you encourage people. And I know that's the gift God has given me to encourage people to keep going. Because I've had those wilderness experiences where I had to just keep going because I knew that wilderness would pass. So I tell people, it will pass. It says, yea, though I walk through the valley, you walk through, but you don't stay there. You walk through. But you got to keep going. You cannot quit. So this is recently, this has been in the last few months. This was recently, and it just blessed me that, he was just so thankful that I had caused him, that God had used me to cause him to see that he needed to not park and get ready to quit, but to continue to go forward and do what he needs to do. So I was like, that was
awesome. Yeah.
It was just like, I was like, wow. So he said, I want you to coach my daughter. I need to get her some sessions too. I said, okay.
Yes. That's good. So as we get ready to close, Coach Janine, could you have a final words?
Oh yeah, this has been amazing. I've just been taking in, and I hope all our viewers, they've really been, taking some notes, because this is what you need to pay attention. Definitely, Coach Nancy, you bless us again. You equipped us. Thank you again so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm always happy to be a guest. Thank you.
Yeah, and Coach Nancy, now I'll give you the final words. You want to tell the audience?
Well, I would just say to people, be your authentic self. Is one of my cliches. I tell people, you can be a first-rate you or second-rate somebody else. If you're authentic, you can be who you are. The stress level is lower. The stress level is not there because you're being who you are. Quit looking sideways. You're not going that direction. Sometimes get off of social media and quit looking at other stuff, because you'll see stuff out there that is happening for people, but you have your own path. You have your own destiny, you have your own journey. And you begin to look, and I know we've all done, you start looking sideways and looking at stuff, and it gets you off course because you're now comparing your year 1 with somebody's year 10, or your year 5 with somebody's year 25, and they're not the same. So walk the path that God has called you to walk in, trust him in the process to direct you with where you need to go, and just pray, say, Lord, direct me to the people that you're going to connect with, those supernatural relationships that I can blossom and grow, and we can create collaborations and do some stuff together to make a difference. But I tell you, be your authentic self and quit looking sideways, and sometimes stop being on social media for so long and quit looking at everybody's story, because what sometimes you see is not always true.
That's right.
Yes. Yes.
Be authentic. Be intentional. Be intentional with what you do. That's one of my, I have a book on being intentional. Quotes for be intentional. Be intentional with your life.
Yes. So you have any upcoming events that you like to tell the audience about?
Not any upcoming events. We're planning for the March one, the big March one for Tweed in 2024. So we don't have the date finalized on that, but we'll have that within the next week or two. And then next year we are going to take it on the road. We took it on the road before COVID. And then COVID happened, then we had to pull back in. So next year, by God's grace, we want to take it on the road to a couple cities and just see what happens. So, that's the goal, to take it, because the model works. We've done it, next year it'll be 16 years in Atlanta. So I know the model works with just taking it to other cities. When we go to other cities, we just do like a breakfast series or brunch. We don't do a whole day. We just kind of start out with just like a brunch with maybe 3 to 4 speakers, and that's how we do it. So that's it for right now,
That's right. Thank you. Well, thank you for being on the show, coming on and sitting in and feeding, giving these people, everyone these nuggets, our guests. And thank you, Coach Janine, for coming and joining me again on the show. I thank you both, and y'all have a blessed day.
You do the same. Thank you, Coach Tina and Coach Janine.
Thank you so much. And ladies, please join and connect with Coach Nancy. She always gives us some good nuggets on LinkedIn. I just want to tell you that. Make sure you connect with her. She can be able to feed your spirit every day on LinkedIn.
Stop the live.